candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with Abeg Vex Podcast.
Hello, welcome everybody to another episode. Today I have the pleasure of having Thomas Trautmann with me. Hello, Thomas, and welcome.
Hi, thanks for the invitation and for having me.
Thank you. Could you tell the audience about yourself and what we will be learning from you today?
All right, so I am a tall, bald German living in France. And in fact, what I do, I help business owners to grow their revenue by 30% in 90 days or less with the science of ethical persuasion.
Ethical persuasion sounds very serious, Thomas. So what is that?
As you can see, I'm not a serious guy, so it's not that serious. No, in fact, it's extremely powerful. It's in fact converting brain science, everything which is related to the decision-making process in the human brain, to help people drive the decision they want from other persons, while at the same time they help those persons to make the decision those persons need.
So this is basically leaning itself to advertising.
It's everything. I mean, as a human being, you make 35,000 decisions per day. And in fact, you are conscious about 0.2% of those decisions. So it's not about advertising.
Right.
Getting out of your bed is one of the decisions you make in the day. Do you have a coffee? Do you have this? Will I move my hand left or right? So those are all decisions you are making. So you're making decisions all the time. Now, when I help business owners, obviously what they want is to get more clients, right? To get more recurring revenue. So in that case, we are going to target what is going to trigger the decision in their brain of their leads or clients to buy from them.
Okay. So is there a particular niche or market when we're talking about business owners? Is there a particular niche or market that your clientele operate in, or this is basically for every business and of any size in any niche or any market?
As I always say, every human being on earth, except politicians, has a brain, right? So, so it applies to every person having a brain. You know?
Right.
And the most beautiful part of that is that the part of the brain that makes the decisions, and it has been scientifically demonstrated without any reasonable doubt, is called the primal brain. And it runs the decision process exactly the same way, whatever your culture, your color, your citizenship, the part of the world where you were raised, your religion, whatever, your skin color, your gender, la la la. So the one part that's going to change the thinking based on the person is the rational part of the brain, which is called the neocortex, which is our upper part. And 95% of people are still convinced that we make rational decisions. Well, in fact, it has been demonstrated that no, we make primal decisions that we rationalize afterwards. So I always like to take the example. You can try to remember what's happened the last time you bought something, or keep it in mind, and the next time when you're going to buy something, listen to what's happening up there. But for example, you buy the latest smartwatch, for example, or the latest iPhone, and it will go in your, oh, no, that was a very good decision. And I should have bought that phone or that watch a long time ago because of this, because of that, la, 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 la. And you will go through a lot of rationalization, but the decision has been made.
Right.
So everyone can benefit from ethical persuasion.
Beautiful. So do you believe that also, we're talking about the brain. Brain is so beautiful and so dynamic. Do you believe that visual cues, or there's certain elemental things that trigger our brain into making a decision?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were seeing before we were hearing.
Right.
Most people would say we could hear before because the ears seem to be closer to the brain. In fact, no, there is way more power and space in the brain dedicated to vision than to hearing, which is very interesting. So, of course, visual cues can define a lot of things. A good example would be Coca-Cola, because Coke has the color red, and they play a lot with the Christmas ambiance, etc. Father Christmas became red, when in fact, originally, he is green. He is
Oh,
dressed in green. Coca-Cola changed the color. And so that's a visual cue. You can take other examples. That's called anchoring, when you put an information in the brain that drives future decisions. An experiment has been done with judges, That was an experiment in Germany where
okay.
two judges had to judge exactly the same cases, okay? And before they had to give the judgment, the decision, they had to throw a dice. And of course, the dices were slightly played with. So one judge, his dice was either giving 1, 2, or 3 as a number. And the other judge was getting 4, 5, or 6. So that's somehow visual because you see little dots on a surface. For exactly the same case, the judge who had 4, 5, 6 always gave a punishment that was higher and more painful than the one who was having 1, 2, 3. So you see, very little things are enough to change the way you see things. And in fact, the more visual your message is, the more efficient it's going to be if you follow a lot of rules that my clients get when we work together.
I really appreciate you saying that. I've learned something. I didn't know Father Christmas was green. Now I don't know Father Christmas was green prior to the red color changed. That's the power of influence too. Coca-Cola, got that one. Very good. So talking about colors, right? As a business owner, sometimes we get married to a color, when it represents a company. It may not
Yeah.
necessarily attract the client that we want to attract, right? So what would you say to a business owner who, say, if a color is something that reminded him of something pleasant as a youth or as a child, but necessarily if you do an analysis on what they need, their colors or their themes do not support their businesses.
That's what. First of all, that's coming to something that gets me always pissed each time is that people, before starting their business or whatever, they have to create a logo.
Right.
No one gives a shit about your logo. Excuse my French, but
French welcome.
no one cares about your bloody logo, right?
Right.
Launch something first, and then do whatever you want with your logo. No one is going to pay attention to your logo. It's a super self-centered thing. And don't get me wrong, I love my logo, right? Create a cool logo. And also,
It's really cool.
I think it's cool. So, yeah, I create for myself because I think the message is great in my logo. No one gets it, no one sees it, but I know it's great. So, yeah, you may at one stage reach a level where you may have to change it. But why? Is it that important? No? You look at very well-known brands, they nearly never change their logo. They may have changed what most people in marketing call their USP, their unique selling proposition. But we should go deeper into that just as the way people understand USP. It's in one sentence, you should do way more things than just one USP, But you could change that. Apple changed it at 2. In fact, 2. The first one was Apple was about how cool you are in comparison to the PC guys, everything was about the coolness of the thing, we're the cool guys. And now I don't remember what it is, it's more about efficiency or stuff like that. But they changed it only once. Yeah, sometimes you make the logo a bit more like BMW, for example. At the beginning, it was a propeller, the BMW logo is in fact a propeller. Because BMW were producing engines for airplanes first of all. And you could really see the propeller with the little, stripes showing that it was turning. And then it became what it is now. So you had many brands like that. But in fact, someone told me once, you have the best logo, color, whatever. If you break it, people can still recognize it. We're talking about Coke. Take a bottle of Coke, throw it on the ground, let it break, ask people what's there on the ground. I'm pretty sure more than 90% will tell you it's a Coke bottle. Or you take, we have a very famous brand for telecommunications in Europe called Orange. And they have an orange square with written orange in white on the black. If I tear apart their logo, people will still recognize it. So what you want with your colors and so on is just make sure that people get it, make it simple. And
Okay.
you can't be that, don't put 1,000 colors on it. The brain will not get it anyway, So I see people who create logos that are so complex. You need more than 1 minute just to watch the logo. The current attention span of the human brain is lower than the one of the goldfish.
Wow.
We are below, I think, 8 or 7 seconds of being able to pay attention to something.
Okay, that's scary.
Yeah. So stop making fun of goldfishes. They are smarter.
No goldfish slander will be tolerated.
Exactly. And no goldfish was hurt during this interview.
I love it. So, just going back to staying married to something, right? So, with the logo changes, the one thing that I know some people do in the very beginning is once they invest in getting this done, they feel like they can't go back from it. And logo and color scheme are those things that I feel like you can play around with as opposed to a name. So for example, a very popular brand, Starbucks, right? Starbucks has had an evolution of its logo, okay? Evolved from different things. Even Amazon. Amazon started as a book store. However, Amazon has pretty much stuck to its guns, I would say, about the logo, right? The business model has changed, right? The business model has changed. The reach has changed. Amazon is in everything now. Absolutely got tentacles and everything. And that is not how we started. However, Starbucks has stuck to its original business model, which was a coffee brand for all, or coffee brand for the cool kids, I would say. You're cooler than the Dunkin' Donut people, kind of.
Do you know why Starbucks really exists?
I would love to know.
Because they play the game of looking what drives the decision in the brain. And in fact, if you look at their logo, it's written the third place. You don't go to Starbucks to have a good coffee. That's not what they give you. They don't give you a good coffee, right? You cannot sit on your own in a Starbucks. Everything is made so that you sit with someone, that you have a human interaction. You have to order your coffee, it's given to someone else, so you queue 2 times. If you look at McDonald's, they want you in and out as fast as possible.
Right.
At Starbucks, they want you to stay. Because in fact, what they create is the third place, because they notice that people need a place where they can stop between home and work, or work and home. So that's why Starbucks exists originally.
Wow.
Yeah, they studied what's driving the decision in their audience. And their audience, they really analyzed very well their audience. They will never analyze Italians, for example, who go to a real cafe, ask a barista to get the coffee done, etc., etc. They don't analyze people who brew their coffee at home. No, they talk to active people who are running all the day. So that's their target. I can tell you here in Europe, where I think, no, not being disrespectful for Americans, but we understand a little bit better what coffee is about, and how coffee should taste. Most Europeans say, excuse me, guys, that Americans drink socket juice while we drink coffee.
Oh, sausages, wow.
Yeah. So, no, but you see, that's why it took off very quickly in the US and took a lot of time to take off in Europe.
It's a quality thing. I don't think the European lifestyle is as fast paced as the US lifestyle.
No, it's different.
Very different. And I find that a blessing that I've been able to experience both. Although both are industrialized, but the speed of things and the fast lifestyle and the marketplace mentality is very much American. The slow down and produce, but also have a life is very European, right? Yes, this is going to get done, but at the same time, I can take a breather in between, right? So
absolutely.
Anything to fuel us, to keep us going, I guess. So wow, the suck juice.
So it was just to saying that you have, because we're talking about colors, about logos, your brand, and so on, but you have to know perfectly who you are targeting, because the human being that's going to make the decision has a brain, and you have to find that trigger in that brain. So if I target men and I ask you, or I try to analyze you, I will not have the right trigger. I work with some cosmetics company. Targeting let's say, the women between 20 and 30 has nothing to do with the women between 30 and 40, 45. They don't have the same decision trigger.
Right.
And it's very interesting because those decision triggers are super self-centered in that human brain.
So, going back to my question,
Yes,
right?
sorry.
So somebody can actually start, no, not at all. You're fine. Somebody can actually start a company with a certain vision of targeting a certain audience.
Yeah.
And over time, either the vision completely changes or the vision evolves to include a broader audience or broader product and services, right? So what is your recommendation? Because we do hold businesses close as, a prized possessions, a kids, a family, a loved ones, or whatever, right? So what is the mindset shift that must happen for a business owner to welcome any change that they have to do in their bid to understand their new market?
Yeah. It's back to that decision trigger up there. So it's called, in fact, a subconscious frustration.
Okay.
So we have many subconscious frustrations, right? They are superhuman subconscious frustrations. So you can have a specific market when you start your business, and you understand the subconscious frustration, so you know how to trigger the decision maker to remove that subconscious frustration. If now your market changes, you'll have to redo this analysis because maybe your new market slice has a different subconscious frustration. Let's say you still run the same company and you expand your offer, your inventory gets larger. So you may have a chance that on the different slices of your target audience, those subconscious frustrations overlap. Now,
Right.
if you did some e-commerce, for example, selling t-shirts, for example, and then you
Right.
decide that from now on you are going to sell a SaaS service, a software service, completely different things. There may be no overlapping, but you cannot use the subconscious frustrations of the first group on the second group.
Right.
So to illustrate the subconscious frustration, let me give you an example. I'm selling drill machines, okay? So if I do it rationally, when my client comes, he says, I need a drill machine. So I'll tell you, okay, the green one here turns at 10,000 RPMs, comes with 2 batteries. Each battery holds for 30 minutes. And because you're a good looking guy, I give you all those drills for free.
Mm-hmm.
And that drill machine costs $400. So the client will then look at the yellow one, which is $350, and say, but that one is cheaper there. So, and then you are going to swim against the current to try to save your deal, but he will buy the cheaper one because you didn't target that decision maker in the brain. If you do it the right way, usually the people who buy a drill machine are men, okay? So you don't buy a drill machine because you are a drill machine fetishist.
Right.
You buy a drill machine because you need a hole. People are not there because they are hole fetishists. They are not going to bore holes all day long in their wall. Okay,
Right.
It's to hang something. So, dear gentlemen, with that drill machine, the painting your wife wants to get on the wall will be on the wall in 2 minutes, and then you can have your coffee or watch your game. I haven't talked about the drill machine. I've talked about him and what I think could be potentially his subconscious frustration, and that is, leave me alone. I need a solution to be left alone and that my wife stops hammering on me for that bloody painting, right? But that's what the subconscious frustration is. If I come back to cosmetics, the subconscious frustration that we found at that time of 30 to 40-year-old woman was she, generically speaking, doesn't want anymore to be the mom that stands alone in front of the school exit. She wants to be the mom with whom the other moms are talking. I'm not talking about cosmetics, Or, if one guy comes and says, I have a hair problem, like me, I don't have a hair problem because I love it that way. But, no?
It's good on you.
Thanks. So I'm not going to sell him that shampoo. That shampoo is going to grow your hair back.
Right.
I don't care. No. you have to be the one that everyone at the next party, you are going to be the focal point of attention because your hair will be back and you will be looking so great. Not talking about shampoo, not saying the hair is going to grow by 5 millimeters every 2 weeks or something like that. It's a subconscious frustration. If I'm talking to a CIO because I'm selling him a software solution, okay, I'm not going to tell him about usually what people do is, oh, our software does this, does that, has so many functionalities. You can accept so many leads or so many. No, from now on, you are going to be home at 5 p.m. and spend time with your kids. Okay, wow, someone understands me, He's not going to say it. He's going to think it. And then he's going to listen and say, tell me more, because you will need to rationalize afterwards anyways. So that's the main difference. So as soon as you change your market, you have to redo this analysis. Well, in fact, the better way is to call me to help you do it.
Absolutely. I'm already thinking of ways to utilize you. So, wow, I learned quite a lot. So it's not about, when you're in business, you're told, focus on what the problem your service or product solves for the client, right? And for me, given the industry that I'm in, there's usually a little bit of a hyper focus on finding the problem and solving it, right? So having to talk about the benefit of solving the problem before the problem is something that I have had to, talking about subconsciously, I have had to subconsciously train myself on, right? Because if you have a shiny new ball, right, you admire this shiny new ball. You want to look at my shiny new ball, right? There's always that temptation to do that.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you share with my shiny new ball, we'll be the only two people at the party with a shiny new ball and we'll be the cool kids, right? Is that what I'm understanding by the way of, self-conscious persuasion in the sense?
Yes, I know, but I may not care about you, bloody shiny ball.
Oh, Lord. It's beautiful, though.
Yeah, but that's you saying that because you are trying yourself to persuade yourself that your shiny ball is beautiful.
Right.
That's what people do when they talk about their products, about their solutions. They self-persuade themselves because they need that. And the person in front of you couldn't care less about you because the decision maker in the brain, that it's called the primal brain, it's a survival tool. It's about surviving, and the only person it cares about is itself.
Right.
It doesn't even care about its children. It's like, do you know why you wake up every morning in 2024?
No.
Because you need food.
Well, I could, I don't need food. I mean, food is overrated. I don't know what you heard, Thomas.
At one stage, your body needs food. Your brain is configured for that. That's why there are all those diets existing where I put a little bit of fat on. Of course, your body is wired for that. 100,000 years ago, when the brain stopped evolving, it was necessary for the body to automatically store fat and so on, because that's energy. After half an hour and so on, you break the fat molecules to become glucose and to run the muscles and so on. The body is wired for that. It's a survival device, okay? And that brain up there is so self-centered. In fact, you wake up in the morning because you need to get food. In 2024, it means you need to get dressed, you need to go to work, get money, and with that money, you can buy food.
Right.
So your shiny ball may be cool, but maybe I don't care about your shiny ball.
You don't like balls or you don't like shiny balls, either way.
Maybe at that moment, seriously, what do you want me to do? It's beautiful, okay, but so what? And there is a good example that I use in my books and in my trainings is, marketing people they always do some focus groups.
Right.
And very often when they do focus groups, the question they ask already drives the answer they want. So for example, I produce devices for writing, painting, whatsoever. So I say, okay, we need a new pencil. So we get a focus group and we ask them if they prefer a red pencil or a blue pencil. As the people came, they are nice, they get a croissant, a coffee, and so on. So they will say something. And the result is 80% prefer a blue pencil. I go into the manufacturing and say, you produce now blue pencils. We put that in the stores and nothing sells. And then the CEO calls me and says, Thomas, what's going on? I don't know, because the results of my focus group show that 80% want a blue pencil.
Right.
But was that the right question? Maybe the right question was more about because the times are tough and so on. So what keeps you awake at night? What do you need to do? What do you want to do? And maybe it's, I need to free myself. I need to paint. And maybe the answer was, I need a brush. I don't want a pencil. I need a brush. But I have asked a completely different question. And that's something that could help your audience. The best question you can ever ask in a sales process is, what keeps you awake at night? At first, it's very funny, but you need to practice to ask that question because it's a very strange question to ask. But when you ask people, what keeps you awake at night? At first, they'll say, nothing. I'm sleeping like a baby, you know. But of course, because of the current situation, I'm thinking about my money, or I'm thinking about my car, or this or that. And you have a very interesting conversation. I use a technique from a guy, I think he's called Jeff Walker. I can't remember exactly. It's called the 2 questions technique. So when you want to launch a company, you are not sure yet. So in regards to, let's say you were saying something about nursing informatics, right? Something like that. So, okay, what are the 2 questions that you have about computers? And you ask that to nurses, for example. It's already oriented, but what are the 2 main questions you keep asking yourself about technology? And people will give you the 2 questions. If you have 10 people who give you 2 questions, you have 20 questions. If it's 20 people, you have 40 questions. With 40 questions, I can write you a book. I can prepare training. I can create a product. I can create social content. I mean, it's a super powerful technique. And they give you what they want.
And it's called a 2-question technique?
Yeah, the 2 questions technique. Now, what are the 2 questions that keep you awake at night? In regards to, so you may want to focus a bit the question, but if you send it to your typical audience, you will get questions focused on what you are doing, surprisingly. And you get super interesting questions you wouldn't think about, because you don't close the thinking capabilities, you know, you open it. So what are the 2 questions you have?
Very interesting. So you're talking about audience. What if a business owner does not have a well-defined audience, right? They have a broad audience. What are the techniques that this 2-question technique is beautiful? It's a beautiful thing to learn. What is additional techniques that they can use to study their potential target or audience in order to really curtail their products and services to fit the need of their target or their main consumers?
So
when we're talking about market experiments, is very dense and confusing.
Yeah. In fact, there are 2 problematics in your question, because you said, how can they refine their audience? And then you said, based on the products and services.
Right.
There is a big mistake most companies do, and I'm always pissed at that when I talk with clients, is that we have this product, we have that great idea. We just don't manage to sell it. You should not have an idea first. You should first define who you want to serve. Okay? Because I'm an entrepreneur. I want to serve business owners. Okay? I even have a narrow business that serves male married business owners, because I'm a male married business owner and I have tools that can help them.
Right.
So I said, I want to serve those guys. How can I serve those guys? And another thing that you should know is, why are you doing what you're doing? What's your why? No? That's even one of the parameters of the ethical persuasion formula, which has 4 parameters. Third one is, why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
And it's not that easy to find a why. Now, if I take my why, why I do what I do, is because I want to create a world where our children will smile. Because smiling is good. You just smiled. You had a genuine smile. You just gave yourself a shot of endorphins and dopamine in your brain. It's free drugs. It makes you happy. And because you smile, I smile. I get the same shoot in my brain. And if we do that, people around us will smile and the world will be a better place. So that's my why. So how do I do that with my target is I could have been a clown, I could have been an actor. But no, I make them smile because they understand something about how they are going to grow their revenue because they know how to drive decisions. So understand your market first and then think about your product. Then find a solution. My 18-year-old son, is in a management university, and he wants to create a company. I said, but Dad, I don't have an idea for a product. I said, who? Who do you want to serve? Don't look for a product. You are going to invent something that's maybe completely useless. No? I worked once for America Online in marketing, and I had a fight with an engineer because the guy said, I don't want to develop that, Thomas. I want to develop this other solution. See, I don't ask you what you want. You are not defining what should be developed. What you want to develop is exciting for you. We are never going to sell that, right? Do what the client wants. Our clients are this, and that. We do that. And I had the same problem with designers when I worked in office furniture in a company, in the biggest company called Steelcase. The designer came, we created a product line for digital nomads, in offices that could reconfigure itself. It was made for laptops and so on. And that bloody designer comes for the trolley in which you put the PC tower because it was nice. Well, she felt excited. I told her, yeah, do it. It's not in the catalog, so whatever. So no, start by thinking who you want to serve. Right. And then, I know it's going to piss a lot of people because they, but my idea is great. I have a super cool product and so on. Yeah, but you don't know who, what for, The problem is that very often you think that you know what they don't even are able to tell you themselves because there's subconscious frustration. Yeah. So how can you imagine what they have in their brain? So with experience, of course, you get there, right? I mean, I can help my clients to get there because I have years of experience identifying subconscious frustrations. And people make it always so complex. It's not that complex. No, it's a human brain. It's fantastic, but at the same time, it's a very basic device.
Very simple. It's very simple.
I mean, when you think about it, if we compare the brain to a computer, the amount of data that comes into the brain every second, it's equivalent to 10 million bits. The bit is a 0 or 1 in the computer. Do you know how many the brain can handle?
I'm scared to ask.
60. 60. It gets 10 million bits of information and it can process 60. So, on the other hand, it can do things no computer can.
Yeah.
Right? But still, don't get overexcited, do complex things. The thing in front of you is pretty simple. Go back to basics, to human basics. That's why the niches that work best, and I'm losing my English now, it's about health, it's about wealth, and the third one, health, wealth, and relationships.
Relationships. Okay.
Those are the three main niches that you have to go in, and they are not that complex.
I think the wealth niche and industry, because the reason why it's becoming so popular is talking about the brain. People are now gravitating into understanding that we're all vibrational beings and we're all energetic beings. And people are starting to really, kind of like explore the area of manifestation and, being present. And it's very interesting that health, wealth, and relationship, it's exciting to know. So going back to marrying ideas, right? When anybody starts a business, is that they recognize within their circle, however that small or big it is, or within themselves, that they realize an idea works. And you just said it's not about you. It's about the potential client you're supposed to serve. How hard in your line of work, how hard has it been to try to break business owners out of that mindset of step back from what you prefer, what you like? How does this serve the general population or the population of your target audience or your target audience in general?
Usually, I would say the business owners get it pretty quickly because business owners have this capability, I think, to think fast and to understand things. They are not locked in a specific role. When you go
Okay.
down to marketing people, I have more success with the ones who have an advanced thinking compared to the ones who think they are advanced, who think they know everything. And I was into marketing. I knew everything. Trust me. I understand them. But then there are industries that are more prone to open their minds. I mean, I love to work with high-tech companies because that's a world I'm coming from.
Right.
And I know I can hurt them, because they're so rational. They think rationally. So I twist the head around, and then they are reborn people, but it hurts them a lot. In fact, when you really want to implement ethical persuasion, it's an extremely difficult thing to do because it asks you to, you're jumping out of the plane. You don't even know if you have a parachute on your back.
Right.
Because it's so different. But when you do it, the results are absolutely nuts. I mean, I have a client in manufacturing. They produce little pieces of plastic whatsoever. And they were the leader. They lost the leadership of their market. In fact, we started a whole campaign that was going to last 2 years. And we went back to the main sentence was, it starts with you.
Mm.
Because it starts with you, clients, but it also worked inside of the company because it starts with you, employees,
Right.
because nothing was going anymore. So they went to a trade show and we completely redesigned the stand. The stand was made with mirrors. And on top of the mirror, it starts with you.
Whoa.
The whole thing was white, had the mirrors, and there were images of the clients, of their clients, with problems, the problems that their clients were solving with the mirrors. It was a blast. It was a blast. They had the same thing in the press, and the press of that super specialized manufacturing industry. The guy said, we've never seen something like that. Never. You guys are going crazy. It's nuts. But they raised by 60%, I think, the amount of leads or retention on their website. So in just a few weeks. So it was crazy. But they had the courage to do the whole thing. Not just, well, we do a training and then, whoops, we go back to ourselves, our self-old habits of being rational, because that's so easy.
It is. And talking about old self, you and I talked a little bit about AI before we jumped on this, started recording. So talking about old ways, the people that are very married to talking about this marriage thing, because businesses are like that. The people that are very attached to their old ways of doing things and are not super excited or quick to jump on utilizing AI tools in their businesses. So when you meet a business owner who consults with you and is looking to work with you, but is leery about working with any AI tool, I mean any, even at the very basics, what is your feedback? What would be your feedback about business owners who are listening, who have not utilized AI, or ones that have utilized AI minimally, and the ones that have just sworn off it altogether? What would be your feedback?
I mean, it comes back to them. It will be, is your time worth something? How much is your time worth, So, oh, my time is super important. Well, then save some of it, Or is your money super important? Then save some of it. Use the tools that are going to help you. I had a friend who, I was a PC user. I was completely against Mac. But everyone knows Windows and the problems there with updates and stuff, all that. And at what stage I was really, really extremely angry because my computer slowed down because there were so many updates. But I couldn't get my brain to pay, 6 times more for a Mac. And then one friend told me, but Thomas, how much you charge a client per hour? So, and how many hours have you lost with your bloody PC? Okay, sold. He got me because my subconscious frustration was converting my time in money, and I was wasting my time.
Right.
And every second that I waste, I will never get it back.
That's right.
It's gone. So, and he got me on the spot. I found the money, I bought the Mac, and done. So it's not advertising, it's just giving an example.
Right. Okay. You answered the two questions in a very great way by giving an example of yourself. because I know there's some people that are very much leery, and there's some industries. I'll speak to my industry because of privacy policies, right,
Mm.
or privacy rules, HIPAA. There's some health facilities or organizations that are very much against utilizing AI in any form, right? Either through the documentation
Mm.
process, triaging and things of that nature. Is there concern for that? Like, what is your insight to that? Like, what would we offer for that?
Well, that may be more thing because that's not really my area of expertise. But
Right,
if there are rules and regulations, you have to stay inside of those rules or regulations. You cannot
right,
put yourself in danger. But maybe there are other areas where you can use tools that help you with your work. I mean,
absolutely.
of course, a lot of people are extremely concerned that AI is going to replace human beings and so on. So, in fact, already very few people are using AI. I think the stats show that it's a very little percent of people, let's say in advanced countries like USA, Europe, Middle East, Africa mostly, but Africa, South America, maybe not that much yet, but those guys are moving fast. So there are not that many people using it. There are a lot of people who are scared, but it's like everything. I mean, when the first engine on rails came and was pulling some wagons, people were saying that if pregnant women were getting on board of a train, they will give birth to monsters. And those trains were even slower than a carriage pulled by horses. So it's always the same thing. Technology is nice. It brings new opportunities. You have to jump onto those new opportunities. It's of course something that you need to understand. You cannot use something like that. So people who are reluctant to use it, they don't understand it, Fear comes from the fact that you don't understand something.
Mhm.
So I would say, yeah, if you can't use it because of regulations, well, don't. Maybe use it for yourself. Try it for yourself. It will bring something to you, to teach you something. It's anyway everywhere without you knowing it. I mean,
Right.
most smartphones now come with an AI hidden inside the operating system, and you have no clue it's there.
Right.
So a lot of softwares who do data analysis and so on have some AI layers in it. So it's there. So I think
Right.
there is a lot of buzz because yes, it can do crazy things. I mean, I was waiting for my son ending his sport in the car, and I just created a few pieces of music, lyrics, music, everything in 2 minutes. I now have a song about the ethical persuader in a reggae style.
Woo-hoo!
So yeah. So of course, people who are singers, who are music players, are going to say, "Yeah, but Thomas, you see, you just killed my job." So
Right.
no, just use those tools to be better at your job. I mean, my wife is very scared about artificial intelligence. I cannot be. I was an AI researcher. I mean, the artificial neural networks running GPT. I'm part of the guys who studied them, so I cannot
Nice.
go against it. But
You can't shy away from
yeah, exactly.
it.
So, but it's. I always use that example when Mercedes introduced robots on the production line. I saw
Right.
once a documentary. They were needing at first 3 or 4 guys to put the dashboard inside of the S-Class Mercedes, the top one. That's where they used the first robots. But in fact, the guys who were doing all those very heavy thing moving around, they became the guys who programmed the robots to do that. So, of course, they're the ones who said, I will never do that. Okay, sorry, mate. There's something else that you should do in your life. But the other guys, they moved along with the thing and went ahead of the technology. So it's always the same thing. It's you have to define by yourself what you want, how you want to get there.
Right. I love it.
I know it's a
So,
very broad answer. I don't have the.
no, you answered exactly what needed to be answered, because with everything new, there's always that hesitancy from a lot of people
Yeah.
because they don't know, or they've read, because everybody these days is a researcher. They've researched and they've heard only the negative things about things, and all of that stuff. With anything new, there's always a bit of apprehension,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer that even with the advancement or the efficiency that AI offers, okay, or AI softwares offers, with practically anything, there's always a need for human oversight. Okay,
Of
there's
course.
always a need. Okay, I'm glad you really do agree with that. I want you to talk a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit with the Mercedes and the programming, but if you just want to give like just a little bit of snippet, because people feel like AI is all in all. I can just have it do everything, but at the
No.
same time, you
No.
have to also provide an oversight and see if. So let's use, for instance, ChatGPT is, you put a blurb in there and you want it to sound a certain way. You have to also make sure that whatever is being spat out at you matches your messaging and matches the
Yeah.
way you speak.
Yeah.
So what can you say about that?
Let me go back to a bit of science. Those artificial neural networks need to learn. They correct the output based on the input they get. If they get always the same input and provide, they adapt to the output that comes out, or they know that there is a difference and they should correct that difference.
Mhm.
So ChatGPT, if you say, write me an article about ethical persuasion, it's going to spit out something and it will crappy. But you are now my marketing expert and copywriter, and I want you to understand that my target audience is made of business owners who struggle with their reputation because their revenue is not growing, because their teams are not trained properly, and they would like to have a 30% growth of revenue. And for that, I am helping them with ethical persuasion, which, by the way, here is the definition of ethical persuasion. And I would like you now to write me an article that is going to be published in LinkedIn in less than, I think the limit is 2,000 characters. And I want you to end up with a call to action, which will be to drive them towards my new book. That's a prompt. And that one is even a simple one, But I know exactly what I want. If you were quoting ChatGPT, just like that, it will give you just like that, something.
Absolutely.
It will be happy to give you something, but it will be crap, And you see it sometimes when it replies with a wrong answer, you repeat the same question. The answer is even worse, and you repeat it, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's because it learned to focus on that thing. So you have to stop and start. You close that dialogue, and you open a new one, and you start again, because the other one it's done. It's lost. You will never get it out of the hole. So,
Absolutely.
but you need to understand, to know exactly what you want. And that's what's important. I mean, I use not ChatGPT, I use other tools to write my articles and stuff like that, but I know exactly what I want in my articles. It's just adding, I mean, the skeleton, the bones are there. It's just adding some meat and fat to it. But
That's
the whole
right.
thing is there. And when I read it, it's what I want. I can tell it I tell it, I want you to write with my own tone. I want to write it like that guy that I like that, but I know exactly what I want. And that's what people need to understand.
So beautifully said. I love it. So, Thomas, this episode is going to be listened to by business owners across the continent. So we're talking about North America, we're talking about in Africa, the African continent as a whole, Europe, everywhere, you name it, Asia, right? So if a business owner who is struggling, right, with one, formulating their message, identifying their target audience, identifying those very important things to, stimulate that primal brain for their business prospect to engage with them, wants to work with you, right? How is that going to work, given that you may be far away from them?
I'm coming to them. I have no problem with that. Of course.
What, Thomas? That's a lot of traveling.
And so I love traveling. No, I mean, I have online programs, of course, they are online programs. But when people want a workshop, when we do a 1, 2, 3 days workshop,
Right.
I prefer it to be face to face, or that the group is in the room, I'm in the room, because you said it, you talked about energy and so on, And when you train people, it's your energy that's there that trains them, that keeps them awake, because you have to keep them awake for 8 to 9 hours.
Right.
And you press information in their brains, you make them work, you give them exercise and so on. I mean, they are as tired and exhausted as I am at the end of the day. But it's completely different than sitting in front of a computer and blah, 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 blah. And you can have as much energy as you want. You have no control of how the people behave.
True.
Because your facial expressions, your body language and so on tells something, So, yeah. But there are online programs too. If people want to get on the online training and then we do coaching, everything is possible.
I love it. So I'm very much a one-to-one person. So I was going to say to you the next time I'm in England, I'm going to get to Paris to find you. I'll stand out in the square and scream, Thomas, where are you?
Well, if you're in Paris, you'll have to shout very loudly because I'm in the south of France.
Okay.
But it's nicer here. It's nicer here than in Paris.
You know what? That is what I'm hearing. So I may just come to the south of France. Who knows?
Yeah, welcome.
So, Thank you. It was so great talking to you.
Real pleasure.
So when it comes to your business and everything, what we're going to do is include it in the show notes, how to get a hold of you, how to get, learn about you, your services, and how to get you to whatever part of the world a person is looking to have you. So I love it. So thank you, Thomas. Is there any parting words you have for the listeners?
I just say, keep in mind that decisions are driven by a human brain. And no company makes a decision. It's a group of human brains or one human brain. So focus on those brains. Make them happy. Make them smile.
Beautiful. I smiled. All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And please engage. Let us know what you think about this topic, if you want more of it, so that I can drag Thomas back in here so we can talk about it. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Abeg Vex Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world